Yeah, okay. Okay, so the idea I was saying here is about kind of rhyme, the different types of rhymes as I will show you. Really, we don't need to worry about all these different names, like when I say approximate rhyme or masculine rhyme or feminine rhyme. I don't care about that. Only we talk about the real, which is, you know, the perfect rhyme and the internal rhyme. Really, this is the idea as I will show you later on. So again, we talk here about rhyme and meter. Meter means, as I said, like in Arabic, we said, your screen sharing is paused. Yeah. You can see my screen now?
Yeah. Yes, doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. So the second point here I'm saying, we call, before here I say, because it comes at the end of the line, it receives emphasis as a musical effect and contributes along the rhythm and meter to give poetry its musical effect, as well as its structure. As mentioned above, the poet may repeat not only sounds, but also whole words. Like what I said when Edgar Allan Poe said, napping, rapping, nearly tapping and rapping. You know, he's repeating that, you know, deliberately, because he wants to say this, and he said many times, nevermore, more and nevermore. He repeats that many times. And this repetition is called refrain. Refrain. Refrain in Arabic, we call it, in poetry, we call it al-lazima. Al-lazima, which is at the end, you know, you repeat the same phrase, the same word or the same phrase to your poetry at the end of each, yeah, I think I will show you an example of this. I think there's a poem, a lovely poem by a man I like. He's a really nice poet. Where is he? Here. Where is he? Here. Come on. Yeah. Look at him. Look at this poem here called The Garden. Look at this lovely poem, and the refrain, notice he said, there is a garden in her face where roses and white lilies grow. A heavenly paradise is that place wherein all pleasant fruits do flow. These cherries grow which none may buy, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. Now notice the rhyme, face, place, grow, flow, buy, cry. This is what we call perfect rhyme. Face, place, grow, flow. Again, buy, cry. I'm saying again what I was saying here. Again, notice those cherries fairly do enclose. Oh, of orient pearl of double row, which when her lovely laughter shows, they look like rosebuds filled with snow. Yet them nor peer nor prince can buy, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. Look what I'm saying, the refrain, the cherry ripe, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. He repeats that, the first stanza, the second stanza, the third stanza, till cherry ripe themselves do cry. This is what we call refrain. Refrain. Another refrain here with our friend Edgar Allan Poe, as I read here. Notice he said he used the word nothing more, evermore, nothing more. Notice here, there but nothing more, nothing more, nothing more, nothing more, nevermore. You see, he repeats the same word at the end of every stanza. This is what we call refrain. As I said in Arabic, al-lazima, which really gives some kind of beauty in a way. You shall see later, I will explain that even more in details later, okay? Really, this is what we mean by that refrain. Now, yeah, where is it? Again, I'm saying here the second way of arrangement, we say rhythm or meter, and I think we will show this. And we have in the division later on, I will explain to you. In poetry, we do this, notice these accents or stressed sounds are indicated in the dictionary in metrical language or in verse, so the accents are arranged to occur in equal or regular intervals of time. For measuring these intervals in verse, we use the word foot. Really, in Arabic, in poetry, when we say the line, we define the line, or we call this scanning. And I will show you scanning here. The example with scanning, look at it here. Look at it here, page 8 here. I say, remind me not, remind me not, remind me not, remind me not. And here, notice here we say stress. We say, remind me not, remind me not of those beloved, those war nicht ours. You see, when all my soul was given to thee. So stress, unstress. And this is what we call here, really, when we use the division or the rhyme. Or in Arabic, we say التقطيع الشعري, right? When we say فعول مفاعيل فاعلات, right? And this is it. This is it. In English, this is what we say. We have each division, we call it foot. Notice here we say remind, this is one foot. Me not, another foot. Remind, another foot. Me not. And this we call syllable. Remind. Notice syllable means one sound. Poetry, we divide poetry according to syllables. According to syllables. Later on, I will explain this to you in the word here. Notice foot. The smallest unit of rhythm in line of poetry is called foot. Okay, I will come to this later on. Okay, but I'm just here introducing it to you briefly because in poetry we will do that. Okay, you following? Good. So we say here foot, line, and stanza. Again, we call this scansion. Scan, as we say in Arabic, التقطيع الشعري. So the process of measuring verse is called scansion. Scansion means, as I said, dividing it into syllables, dividing it into foot or feet. Metrical language, not necessarily poetry, is called verse, means metric verse. Okay? Non-metrical language is called prose. Metrical, really, again, if you want to say about metrical or metric, really like when we say موزون, الشعر الموزون. Okay? So not all poetry is metric. For example, modern poetry today, people don't use meter. So that's why it's not metric. You understand? So that's why here we define all these things, and I think you will find that really easy. If it's not metric, then it's called the free verse. Notice sometimes it's called the free verse, or sometimes if you don't have rhyme at the end, it's called, if it doesn't have rhyme, we call it a blank verse. Later on, I will show it here, blank verse. So free verse means no meter. Notice, free verse is not verse. In the understood concept of verse, it's not metrical. It may be rhymed or unrhymed. The only difference between free verse and rhythmical prose is that free verse uses the line to divide the poem into rhythmical units. Here we should distinguish between end-stop lines or run-on lines. Run-on lines, sometimes you have very long line, like in Edgar Allan Poe, he uses this. And many American writers also uses this, which is really, to me, is crazy. You know, it's not really a good way. I will show you this later on. Again, we have what we call here, you know, this is what we say continuous form, stanzaic form, like terza rima, or like the ballad, or rhyme royal, or Spenserian stanza, or fixed form, or and so on. So, meaning the poem itself also has its own ordering. It's the way it's arranged, it's structured. So that's why in general we have lyric poetry or elegy or sonnet. It's all the same, in a way similar. Notice lyric, it's any poem with one speaker, not necessarily the poet, who expresses strong thoughts and feelings. Most poems, especially modern ones, are lyric poems. Really, the word lyric is mostly used for poetry and for songs. They use the word, they use the word lyric. Elegy, it's a lyric poem that mourns the dead. Really, elegy, as we call this, may be anything to do about, to write about dead people. Or as we say in Arabic, الرثاء. قصيدة الرثاء is called elegy. Okay, it has no set metric or stanzaic pattern, but it usually begins by reminiscing about the dead person, then laments the reason for the death, and then resolves the grief by concluding that death leads to immortality. Sonnet, again, the sonnet is a lyric poem. Again, the same thing. Sonnets fall into three types or two types, as we shall see: the Italian or Petrarchan sonnet, and the English and the Shakespearean sonnet. And later on, I will again come to this together. Now, let me show you this structure and form. Look at this poem. Sultan.
Yes, doctor.
What do you think? Which one is a poem? Which one is a poem and which one is not a poem?
I think that the first one is a poem, because if I read it, I've eaten the plums that were in the icebox.
Thank you very much, but really, you have tried. Really, this is a poem, but you see why it's a poem. Where are yeah, who's here?
I think somehow it's connected. The words are connected together.
Look at the one here in the box. Notice what he said. Huh?
They are the same, but this is the run-on sentence and this is with the lines.
Sorry again, Ala, is it Ala?
Yes.
Yeah,
the first one, it is divided with the lines, but the second one is like a run-on sentence.
So, do you think this is poetry?
Yes, I think it.
But where is the? Notice what he said. He said, "I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox, and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, they were delicious, so sweet and so cold." Is this a poem? Look at the way he wrote it here. It's a message. It's a message sent by S to his mom. He said, "Dear mom, this is just to say that I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me. They were delicious, so sweet and so cold. S. Simon or Susan or whatever. Isn't it? It's a message you write to and you put in the fridge for your mom. If you are hungry, you've eaten something and you've eaten all of it. And then you send a message saying to your mother, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've eaten it." Huh? Why this is a poem? Sultan, this is a poem.
Mister,
This is a poem only because of the way it's arranged. Really,
yes, the
really.
normal people would say, I've eaten, for example, that food. But he said a lot of things, and not
Yeah,
directly.
yeah, because really he's saying it like this only to show you that this is, this is a poem. Again, there's another crazy poem by him, the same man here, William Carlos Williams. I will show you another really amazing example by him. I will show you that. And you say, what is this poetry? Come on, man. Are you serious about that? Look at him. Here. Look at this. Look at this. Can you see it? William Carlos Williams, The Red Wheelbarrow. Huh? Can you see it? Look. Ammar, where's Ammar? Ammar? Hello? Hello, my friends? Is Ammar there? Where is he? Yeah, Ammar is not there. Anyway, Anas? Anas?
Yes,
Are you there?
yes, I'm there.
Okay, can you see this this poem? Can you read it for me?
Yes, so much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens.
What's this? Do you think this is a poem?
No, because it's like it's not organized at all.
But the way he wrote it is it's organized, isn't it? The form, it's organized. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Really, you say, come on, what's this? You know, the title of the poem is about a red wheelbarrow. You know, a wheelbarrow, it's like something like a cart which you carry, like a small carriage you use. People use it for carrying your dustbin or your rubbish bags, or people use it in farms. And it's called wheelbarrow. It's something like to carry stuff in it. And he's talking about this red wheelbarrow. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow, glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. Really, in a way, this is modern poetry, but there's no rhyme, there's no images. Where are the images? Where is the poetry here? There's no real poetry. I can't see any poetry in it. He's saying, oh, look, there's a red wheelbarrow there near the chicken house. And that's it, near the chicken house. And really, this is amazing what we are talking here about the style, or where are we? About the form. We are saying really here, structure and form is really structure or form is what makes poetry. Poetry is poetry because of its form. Here, because the way he wrote it like this, we called it poetry. Because it's written like this, it's called a message put on the fridge for your mother. Okay? Really, this is the idea. Again, we use this as an example to talk about poetry as form, really. As we say, you know, and I think always we say in Arabic, I said, poetry is form, shakl, الشكل, really. The form, the outside appearance is what makes poetry. And of course, in addition to meanings and words, of course. Again, here, when you read any poem, you look at the words or the word choice, or the diction, or the style. Notice, for example, this funny poem here. Notice, there's no frigate like a book. There is no frigate like a book. What's this? Frigate? Frigate is as we say in navigation and in worship, it's a warship. Really, we say in Arabic, farqata, which is like a warship. And notice he's comparing a book to a warship. He's saying there's no worship like a book, meaning a book, when you read the book, is like going into an ocean, like traveling in an ocean, in a massive big ship. And a warship, not only any ship, a warship, because frigate is powerful ship. And he said, because here, notice when I'm talking about style, or what we call diction, which is style. Notice, for example, he said, there's no frigate like a book to take us lands away, nor any courses like a page of prancing poetry. Prancing poetry. Really, the word prancing is very funny. It's dancing poetry. He said, nobody, nothing can take you anyway, nowhere like a page, like when you read a book, nor any coursers like a page. No matter what you do, a page would be like he said, a page of what? Of prancing poetry, meaning dancing poetry, great poetry will take you far, far, far away. Like when he said, مِقَرٍ مِفَرٍ مُقْبِلٍ مُدْبِرٍ, blah, 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 blah. Like the poem that I said, over till cherub take them, this is again the same, absolutely the same meaning. Notice, this traverse may the poorest take without oppress of toll. How frugal is the chariot that bears a human soul. This is by Emily Dickinson. Really, this is, again, absolutely important. I'm saying, notice here, in this poem, Emily Dickinson is considering the power of words in poetry to carry us away, to let us escape from our immediate surroundings into a world of imagination. To do this, she has compared literature to various means of transportation, a boat, a team of horses, a wheeled land vehicle. But she has been careful to choose kinds of transportation and names for them that have been, or that have, as you can see, Romance connotations, like frigate suggests exploration and adventure, coursers, beauty, spirit, etc. And speed, chariot, speed, etc. So notice, really here, we're talking here about diction or about style. And now, if you like, we come to this end, if you like, at the end of the day, really, somebody is sending a message. Yeah. Okay, so I'll go back to where I was. Okay, do we have any question? I will move on to poetry terms. Do you have any question?
Yes, teacher, just I want to make sure about something.
Yes, please.
Does this mean in the other point that if the structure changes, so a poem doesn't become a poem anymore?
Well, no, because according to my example here, really, if you write it like this, as you can see here on my left side, it is a poem. If you write it like this, then it's not a poem. So I'm saying, yes, poetry these days, really, poetry these days, you can see in a way, it's like prose, but the way it's organized. Have you tried to write poetry, for example, Ada?
When I was a child, yes.
So now you have grown up and you thought poetry is rubbish. You don't want to write it anymore. Anyway, the idea I'm saying here is, yes, I'm saying that, yeah, these days, especially modern poetry, especially what we call modern poetry or free verse poetry, it's written like this, with some, like for example, if you read Mahmoud Darwish or modern, do you read Mahmoud Darwish or, I don't know, these people today, these days, any poetry today, many poets say we write poetry, but when you look at it, it's not really poetry, but the way they write it, it looks like poetry, isn't it?
Yes.
So really,
if it was a real poetry, I mean, like the poet had made some efforts in it, and if we just change the structure.
Yeah, exactly. I see what you mean. I mean, for you, maybe for you and for me, I don't think this is poetry. To me, poetry is rhyme. Poetry is rhyme. I know.
Yes, that's rhyme.
Maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. But you see, for example, you know, people who write real poetry, it should be rhymed to make it poetry, because this is even in Arabic or in English. Without rhyme, it's not really. It doesn't look like poetry. You see. So that's what I mean. So yes, to answer your question, form. Poetry, sometimes we call poetry because of its form, although deep down we don't feel it's poetry, okay? Especially when it doesn't have a lot of images, like the one I said here about the plum. I have eaten the plums that were in the icebox and which you were probably saving for breakfast. Forgive me, you know? So this is really not poetry. For God's sake, this is not poetry, you know? So really, whereas, for example, the next one you say, there is no frigate like a book to take us lands away, nor any curses like a page, etc. Yeah, here there's no rhyme, but there are, if you like, you know, there is meter somehow, and there is, you know, nice organization and the same idea. Again, you can see here the question really. Oh, we're going to run out of time again, but after 10 minutes, but again, we'll do the same business. We'll come back. Anyway, the idea really I'm trying to tell you here is according to the formalities of poetry, we look at poetry only for many reasons, only through form. Although in my own view, I don't think this is correct. Okay, any other question?
Thank you.
Okay, you okay? Right. If we look at the poetry terms here, as you can see, I have arranged for you these terms alphabetically, and also I really gave you a summary of this. And I have taken this from different sources, from different books, and really they are very useful as terms, as terminologies, poetry terminologies. We use them to understand poetry. For example, the word ballad, and we use the word here, ballad. It's a traditional ballad, is a song poem that tells a story. Well, you may say to me, well, all poems tell stories. Yes, I think that's true. All poetry, really, everything, you know, there are stories there. In any poem, there is a story. There must be a story. But you see, I'm saying here, ballad normally is a song. Notice here, is a song poem, means small, short, really tiny, if you like, which talks about somebody or something. Again, that's why it's called a narrative poem. So when you tell a story, it means you narrate. It's a narrative poem with simple language that has a musical rhythm and can be sung. Its theme is often tragic and supernatural. It has a simple structure and is usually related in simple 4-line stanzas, rhyming A, B, C, B, A, B, C, B. I will explain to you these later on, okay? So really this is one term we use sometimes when we hear in English all the time, we say this is a ballad. Means a song poem and which tells a story. It's a narrative poem. It's a narrative poem. It has music and it has rhythm, very nice music and simple language. And normally its theme is tragic, or he's saying it's supernatural. Again, as I said, it's simple in simple 4-line stanzas, tiny stanzas, okay? So really this is the idea here. Now, the next one is called the blank verse. This is what I told you before, blank verse. This is what I said, as I said, which is not rhymed poetry. Poetry which has no rhyme. As I said, الشعر غير المقفى غير المقفى بدون قافية. Blank verse is a poem with no rhyme, but does have iambic pentameter. Means it has meter, but no rhyme. It has meter, but no rhyme. And we have this mainly written by Shakespeare. We shall see this a lot in many examples by Shakespeare. Shakespeare used this, what's called the blank verse. There's no rhyme. And I think, you know, we shall see this later on a lot. So that's why we say blank. The word blank means empty. Like we're saying empty. Blank verse is a poem with no rhyme, but does have iambic pentameter. This means it consists of lines of 5 feet, each foot being iambic, meaning 2 syllables long, 1 unstressed, followed by a stressed syllable. Like when we say, remind me not, remind me not. You know, this is, you know, when I'm saying iambic pentameter. Penta means 5. Penta, 5. Later on, I will show you these differences when we say penta, tetra, tri, octo, etc. I will show you these words later on. So blank verse then is, as you can see, very simple, the definition. The word conceit, a metaphor describes one thing in terms of another. A metaphor describes one thing in terms of another. I will show you here's the example. It is an elaborate and far-fetched metaphor in which a very unlikely connection between 2 things is established. Really, conceit means very strange metaphor, very unbelievable metaphor. You know, very elaborate metaphor, very exaggerated metaphor. Like when you say here, granite jaw. Granite, you know, granite jaw. You know, granite's like this strong, massive stone, and jaw is your jaw. How do you describe your face? Your jaw to granite, you know, which is really very strange image here, used by Donne's famous description of lovers' souls as being like 2 legs of a pair of compass. Again, the compass here, we use this when we were at school. We used to draw circles. You know, this is what we call compass, and the compass is connected here in the back, and the 2 legs, And this is what we call lovers, described by John Donne as two legs of a pair of compasses, and comparing beautiful women to an object like a garden or the sun. Like the example I read for you about the garden, when he said there is, remember the example I read for you? Where is he, my friend? Where is he? Ah, that's him. Notice the title, The Garden. The garden. There is a garden in her face. Huh? You say, what? What do you mean? You understand? Means she's very beautiful and her face has so many kinds of beauty. And he said, where roses and white lilies grow, heavenly paradise is that place, wherein pleasant fruits do flow. You know, it's very strange, isn't it? Very amazing description to describe a woman's face, to say, oh, what a beautiful garden you have. Do you understand? Sultan?
Yes, doctor.
When you are in love with a young lady, you tell her this. You say, oh, you have a lovely garden in your face.
Inshallah.
You understand? She will be very happy with you. So this is really the idea. I'm saying very strange metaphor. That's why we say conceit. You know, this is what we call conceit, means a very amazing, imaginative, far-fetched, exaggerated metaphor. Now, the next one is, we call couplet. Couplet, two lines of poetry with the same rhyme and meter. Means couplet means two lines. Any two lines rhyming together, we call them couplet. Two lines of poetry with the same rhyme and meter, often expressing a complete and self-contained thought. The best English poet to use the couplet is Alexander Pope. Alexander Pope used this a lot in his poetry. Nearly all of his poetry is written in couplets. Couplets, two lines rhymed together. Really, it's very amazing. Later on, inshallah, I will show you examples of that. It's called couplet. Means two, really means two lines. Now, the next one